Welcome back to AFTV, everyone. We've got some breaking news around an academy star, a player that Arsenal fans are really, really excited about. Not to say that he was necessarily going to get his opportunity in the first team this season, this upcoming season, or for a little while still, but in terms of academy talents, he's one of the best. Now, Chido Obi-Martin has been linked with a move to Bayern Munich. In fact, link is putting it mildly, because this exclusive coming from at Academy Scoop on X, they go by the name of Scoop as well, are saying that Bayern Munich are in advanced talks to sign Chido Obi-Martin, hoping to beat rivals Borussia Dortmund to the striker's signature. The Danish talent rejected Arsenal's most recent scholarship offer this week and looks set to walk out the club this summer. They do go on to then say that Arsenal will continue negotiations for young Chido, but are unlikely to be willing to match Bayern's financial offer. So I'm here with Cecil, who was a striker, who was an academy prospect himself. but in all seriousness, Cecil, like when we put this sort of bit of news in the group, you had a lot to say, not just about the player and the fact we want to keep him, but actually the potential offer we're talking about. So let's try and unpack this, because I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the player. Of course, we all know the name because he's been scoring bags of goals in the academy. And look, when Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund want your academy prospects, clearly they're quite good. Yeah. Before we talk about Arsenal and the academy in general, what is your takeaway from this bit of news? Like I said, I don't know how reliable it is, but it's being shared around. It's being taken as pretty reliable bit of information. So I'll stop waffling. Okay. Go on, my friend. What do you make of it?
For me, there's a few aspects to this. Obviously, you said, in the group, when the news got put in the group, I was quite annoyed at the fact that, because when you sign a scholarship, basically is a youth contract. So you sign from 16 to 18. You normally get offered a 2-year youth contract. And it's obviously shown that Chido's, he's turning it down. He's refused to sign it. So, but what I do know is most clubs, and I've also found out recently as well, that you can't sign a professional contract until you're 17 years old. So that's where the big factor kind of lies, especially in the UK. So that's a law that's here in the UK now. You can't sign a professional contract until then. However, it's very, very, people know, if you're working within football, you know that you get offered a scholarship to the top talents, but you get offered as well during that scholarship conversation, you're kind of guaranteed a 1-year pro or 2-year pro. And I hope, and this is why I was vocal in the group, because I hope Arsenal weren't, naive. I'm sure they would have done this, but kind of promise. I know you can't fully agree a professional contract because he can't sign until he's 17. But in those conversations when you're offering a scholarship, because he is only 16 years old, that you've said, we really value you. We know your talent. Like you mentioned before, he scored 10 goals against Liverpool. He scored 7 against Norwich. He's been, the second half of the season, has been bagging all over the place.
Not bad numbers, is it? Very
good numbers. So he's clearly a prospect that is grabbing a lot of headlines and a lot of attention. So I just believe Arsenal, and I'm sure they're more savvy than I assumed, and they would have offered a scholarship plus a professional contract. But I think it'll be absolutely ridiculous to let such a talent like him go. However, I also have inside information because I speak to a lot of, I work with young footballers, youth prospects through my company Talent Transfer, but also on top of that, when I speak to young players, I have a kind of insight to young players at Arsenal. And there is a small frustration amongst the young academy players that they don't really see a pathway into the first team. Of course, we have the Haaland boys, the likes of Eddie Nketiahs, the Reece Nelsons, the Sakas, the Smith Rowes. They all made it through as Haaland boys. But of late, it feels like the young players are getting opportunities, say, on pre-season tour, but not really seeing a clear path to the first team. And that may become because, that it's got a lot more difficult to break through because we're going for major things at the moment. We're challenging for titles. We're, in the Champions League. So there's not as much opportunity, in my opinion, for Arteta to be so lax in giving players a clear pathway from academy straight to the first team. So the reason why I know this is because players like Raul Waters was around the first team quite a bit a few seasons ago. But now I also think what I've heard as well is he's looking to find a move as well, because he's just in this limbo. Reports, I don't know where I'm going to wait. I don't know if I'm going to wait to, make my opportunity. Amari Hutchinson, I think mainly was kind of for the money to go to Chelsea. But again, he thought like he was close knocking on the door there, and then didn't really get his opportunity, or wouldn't see a clear pathway straight to the first team. There's some players, again, it's on the release list that Arsenal released quite recently, like the likes of Therese John Jules, another prospect for Arsenal. He's leaving. Catalin Serjan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Another really good talent who was looked at to come through as well. But he's saying, I think he feels the same. Doesn't see a real clear pathway. So I do. I understand. Other clubs are sniffing around, and he may think, "Oh, will I really get my opportunity here at Arsenal?" But for me, I think Arsenal should be trying to demand that. I mean, even last season, people that really got their opportunities we saw Charles Sago Jr. Sorry, only really I think one appearance, and then Ethan Nwaneri. No, I didn't pronounce that right.
No, I was stressing when you said Sonogo Jr. I thought, I don't remember Sonogo's FA Cup winning hero. I didn't realise his son was playing for us.
Big up Sonogo, what a legend.
You touched on some interesting things there. I mean, I was doing some research on Ethan Nwaneri the other day, and I realised that I think it was last summer we started hearing reports that he was committing, and he was committing to Arsenal. And so when I looked at the report that confirmed he'd signed his pro contract in March, which was 2 months ago, I think it was March. I think he must have signed it too. Yeah, I think it was 2 months ago.
It was quite recently. Yeah.
So I remember thinking it wasn't only 2 months ago that we knew he was staying. It was way before that. So maybe there is something in terms of players know kind of what's to come once they hit 17. But look, I'm speaking as someone who really doesn't know how this stuff works the way you do. But interesting you talk about a path to the first team. First and foremost, the players have to be good enough. And I think if the players are, Arteta will play them. But I also think to know if you're good enough, sometimes you have to sink or swim. You have to just be dropped in at the deep end sometimes. And you see whether you adapt to that level. I've always believed that football so much is about environment as well. And sometimes better players make you look better, and you can raise your level to get to a certain, this is such a weird one, right? But Francis Coquelin. Now, he didn't go on to become some Arsenal legend, but I remember he was in our academy, got some minutes, got some opportunities, then he was sent on loan. And then actually, when he came back into the team when we were better, when he had Cazorla and Ozil, and again, he wasn't the answer as our long-term defensive midfielder. But my word, for a season or two, he was good. He played in a team that, was competitive in the Premier League. Never looked like winning the league, but it was a good side. And won an FA Cup or two. Like, he was really competitive because suddenly the environment and the play, the midfield and everything was right for him. And it was a sink or swim moment when we had injury problems to Flamini or whatever. And he swam, even if it was only for a couple of years. But I don't know if that opportunity is always there for Arsenal players where, when we've had, I don't know, not maybe the right profiles at the back, we've decided to resort to Rob Holding rather than going for Rule Waters at right back and Ben White at centre back. Now, I don't know if he would have done well, but that was a sink or swim moment. Some people go, that's a title race, James. Is that really what you want to do to a player? But I'm just saying it feels like those opportunities don't really come for younger players at Arsenal.
Well, that's it. Like, there was the dead rubber game in the Champions League at PSV, and I know some of the youngsters then thought they would have their moment.
Great example.
But they never did. And I just think, like, the Raw Waters of the world, even Cozy Dubry, we was lucky enough to speak with him in the pre-season tour. I remember how excited he was to be on that pre-season tour, and he felt like, from when we were speaking to him, it felt like he was quite confident that he might have some more experience amongst the first team players, whether that comes into the season. But again, he's kind of just disappeared as well. So for Chido Obi-Martin, I just feel, I hope that a club are doing everything they can to hold on to him. Yes, the interest is nice. They might even be able to get a good fee for him. And I believe the way it's structured with academy players is every time until you're age 23 years old, they make a move to a club. The home club or the parent club get a fee as well. So you can make, and he signed at 14 as well, Chido, to Arsenal. So like, we'll make money off him if that is the case, if he does sign to a big club like Bayern Munich and continues to have a big career. However, I just think it would be silly to let, especially from after, his goal scoring ability, what we saw in the latter stages of his academy years, I think it'd be silly to let go of him. And strikers are a sought after breed. I just feel like if you want anything, you want to hold on to a striker. And I can think of many examples. I know right now of late we've been in title races, so it's difficult to see we can break through. But Marcus Rashford was the same. You never know what's going to happen. There could be like an injury to a certain amount of players. You get the opportunity, and then bang. Ethan Nwaneri as well. For me, he had an opportunity done. Well, to be fair, he had an opportunity from his academy playing days and made a lot of noise there. Did okay when he came through as well. Didn't really play much minutes, but you can see he's a talent and the club are trying to hold on to him. I think they should be doing exactly the same for Chido Obi-Martin. It's just, like I said, I think back in the day, it was a lot easier to get away with certain things, like you sign a scholarship, we'll pay for your parents' house and stuff. They used to. There's a lot of things back in the day when I was playing that, it holds on to the players. I know a lot has changed now, but there's a lot of things that used to happen behind closed doors. But as much as things have changed, I believe, and I'm sure Arsenal are naive to say, look, we can only sign you on your 2-year scholarship, but be assured as soon as you hit 17 years old, the contract will be there for you to sign a professional contract. But yeah, I mean, it's a worry that a big club like Bayern is sniffing around and that, but we should be doing, like I mentioned at the beginning, should be doing all we can to hold on to him, because I believe he's a bright talent. And we have a lot of bright talent in the academy at the moment. I just feel it is going to be difficult to
Lewis
find the clear
Skelly's
path.
another one.
Say that again?
Yeah. Lewis Skelly, Noneri, those are the two that people are super excited about right now.
Exactly.
And we should be keeping up with what these players are doing. And this is, I think, why, while I don't claim to be an expert on the academy, we all know that this is a talented young player in Chido Obi-Martin, who I think we all just very instinctively think, keep him. If he's scoring all these goals in the academy, keep him, because when he's ready, he's going to score bags of goals for us. Now, it doesn't always translate that way, but you want to give yourself the opportunity. Sometimes we've given debuts and opportunities to a Serge Gnabry, but then again, I talk about environment. At Bayern Munich in Germany, he balled out, but at West Brom, Tony Pulis didn't fancy him. And you just think, this is football, do we not learn from these things? So I don't know. I think what I would say is you're never going to find me, and I think I did the same with Amari Hutchinson, although I'd love to go back and watch my reaction videos to the news when he left us for Chelsea. But my position on this stuff today, and I hope it was the case 2 years ago too, is that I'm not, there's so much I don't know about the men's senior game, let alone the academy. But I definitely don't follow the academy enough or know enough about the patterns of how things work in the academy for me to feel like I'm going to lose my head if we are to lose a player like Chido Obi-Martin. I'll be disappointed, but could I say, Mertzaker's not doing enough here, or we're not doing enough there as a club? Something about the academy in terms of, is it producing enough, players that are at least sellable to get good money in, or at least providing enough good quality for the first team? So it tells me that we're lacking on both those fronts at the moment. Yeah. But again, have I quite studied what Tottenham's does, what Newcastle's does, what Man United's does? Man City's is doing great with Trafford and Cole Palmer and a few others. I think Chelsea's tends to always do quite well. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye. But the final thing I do want to ask you is how much of this could be related to Arsenal's pursuit of a striker this summer. I mean, when we really think about it, right, if Arsenal's position is to go for a Benjamin Sesko, who we've been linked to, who's only just turned 21 years old, I don't see a world in which you develop, I don't know, a 16-year-old striker to be ready for the first team or to start getting his opportunities in the first team as your current developing striker is about to hit their sort of prime. I mean, Kai Havertz isn't going to be done and dusted in 3 years' time unless his performances aren't good enough. So like, do clubs? So I'm not making a statement there. I'm more asking, do clubs look at it that way and go, this is how many years we've got with this player before we go on to this player? Or does it not work like that? Is it just about keeping the best quality and getting the best money for them if you can otherwise?
Well, my answer to that would be simply, firstly, what the club does. I wouldn't say I have the expertise on that, but I have if I was a player in Chido's position, be thinking every season the Arsenal fans or the club, they're looking at strikers. I'm here. Yes, he's very young, but he's
16, is it? Did you say 16?
He's 16, so he's still very young.
That's extremely young. Like, I think 19, you should be hoping to get some minutes.
Right. But he will also, yes, very young and probably doesn't see the clear path to get straight into that first team, but he will have enough backing of his own ability to think, well, no one's been happy over the strikers of late. I have enough talent. I think one day, eventually, I'll be an option that Mikel Arteta can look at and potentially use. Now, a lot of my love is with the youth players and the next generation of footballers, and I feel that that I think he could really, if he stays, could potentially get an opportunity in that first team. James, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the club will be looking at and what they're doing. I don't think it has a relation to do with them looking at a Sesko. Personally, I don't think bringing another.
Yeah, you don't think the two are related.
No, I don't.
But do you, not from the club's perspective, but from the players' perspective, do you think there's any sort of thought of, well, look, they're about to maybe we don't know if we're going to sign Sesko, but whoever it is, is there any thought to maybe they're about to spend all this money on a young striker? Quite frankly, I don't see how my path is there. I mean, I don't know. But we're talking about 16-year-olds. It's really difficult, isn't it?
It's too young to really consider that. Say like I'm out of the picture completely, because he's still got a career. He's still got to go through his youth stages, really, and then
it could be as simple as it's Bayern Munich.
True.
Or it's Dortmund who develop Bellingham and Sancho and all these great young players.
Well, that's another thing. Just a bit more context for the viewers as well. The management team or the agency that Chido is represented by is Elite Management. They actually brokered the deal for Sancho to go to Dortmund in the first place. So they have a lot of relations with the German league and clubs over there. So that is also a bit of context to his agent and what they're kind of dealing with as well. And I think a lot of players, especially Arsenal, are seeing success from players going abroad, especially to Germany, and then building their name up and then coming back over or hitting the big time signing. So that's why I do worry about the signs of it being Bayern Munich and Dortmund coming in for Chido, because it is attractive. I just feel like you have to try and your best hold on to him. And you made a very good point, James. We don't 100% know ins and outs of the academy, but what I do know is you either building players up to get them into the first team. That is number one rule. The Dutch leagues do it amazingly well, especially Ajax. Obviously, I was there with Soccerex, and they're probably the most progressive club when it comes to academy into first team players. If you're not doing that, then you're either building up players to be sold for really good value. But of late, I mean, there's names flutting around. We have our Hale M boys will be complete profit, and I feel like they're of some value, but you don't see of the most recent players from the academy breaking in and being sold for top prices. So it's either they're getting into the first team or you're selling them on for amazing fees. And right now, I don't see that as clear right now from Arsenal. So the best thing I would say, because you can see he's a good talent from the goal scoring record, Arsenal should be doing their best to hold on to him. But we go back to your initial question. I don't think it's related to the Sesko rumours.
Okay, so did you say he was 14 when he joined Arsenal?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and if he's only 16 now, right? So we're talking about someone who's only been at the club 2 years. He's Danish. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't love Arsenal. Maybe he loves Arsenal as professionally as possible. Maybe he does love the club. I don't know. I don't know the guy. But this is all part of it as well. Bayern Munich come knocking on your door. He's only been at Arsenal 2 years. It might just be the next move for him. It might just be the next step. And all these things are moving. Arsenal fans will be disappointed. There'll be inquiries into what's going on with the academy. And maybe those are fair. Maybe they're not. I'd love everyone to let us know their thoughts in the comment section below. What do you make of Arsenal's academy? Is it doing enough? Should we be producing more players, better players? Should we at least getting more money for the players we are letting go? I think the best example of business we've done recently was get 37 million for Balogun. Mm-hmm. This is a player who had a great reputation. We sent him on loan. He scored a load of goals in France. Then he got a move to Monaco for 37 million. And look, I don't think he's, it's not taken off, I don't think, in France for him. Not that I've paid massive attention to his move since he left, but that represents good business for us. I think good use of the academy. Is it always possible to do that business, or do you have to accept that some you're just going to lose out on? And that's true of quite a few clubs. So yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Just a reminder of the news. It comes from @AcademyScoop on X. They've said that Bayern Munich are in advanced talks to sign Chido Obi-Martin. They're looking to beat Borussia Dortmund to the signature. And the Danish talent did reject Arsenal's most recent scholarship. Arsenal will continue negotiations, but they're unlikely to match Bayern's financial offering. That is the news from Scoop, who you can find on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Cecil, thanks for joining me, mate. We'll be doing more breaking news, updates, and just whatever's going on, like whatever is being hotly talked about on social media, whatever reports coming out from journalists. And certainly big news. We'll be keeping you up to date with it all here on AFTV. So do look out for our news updates. Big thanks to Cecil, the Crawley legend, who had to build him a statue to convince him to stay. But fair play.
The fee wasn't enough. Sorry, those German clubs were offering me too much. I had to jet off.
The Crawley Henri. Guys, thank you all for joining. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this update. Subscribe to the channel for more updates as well. If you hit the bell button, you will know whenever we're updating on Arsenal news. And we will see you all very soon. Many thanks.